when you need me to change your slides.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Tell you, I've never had these problems. I was on 4 calls last week, and it's you, Jess. I think it's you.
It might be. I have this weird thing where I have static electricity shocks like everywhere I go, even if I shut my car door. So I do have a thing with technology.
I have that too. I phone or watches. I can't wear a watch.
Oh,
because it spins the dial. Like it's a
what?
chemical thing in my wrist. Yeah,
we're witches.
I think that's what it is.
Okay,
I speed up time.
Anyways, yeah, we could go on for that or about that for hours. I'm just going to make this a little bigger. There we go. Okay, so hi everybody. So the reason I'm here, and my name's Susan Turner, and I am an editor. But the reason I'm here is because as part of being an author as well, I've been attending a lot of presentations and author sessions, and I met Jess about 3 months ago now, Jess, at the Women in Publishing Summit. So anyways, I've been attending some sessions, and I keep hearing comments about editors and people's challenges with editors, and having issues with not being responsive, or various issues. So I talked to Jess and said, maybe I should go on there, and if people have questions, and we can talk about editing challenges as well, or your experiences, or what you should be getting for your money as editors. And she thought that was great, and that's why I'm here. But also, I don't know if you've had a chance to read her book, but I just finished Jess's book on indie publishers and lists, creating lists. And it was really good. It was fabulous. And I'm thinking, I wonder if there's an opportunity there where editors can help. I'm going to give you a little story. I was at a book launch many years ago, and I was really excited to meet this author, and one of the things they had out on the table was some promotional bookmarks. I thought, oh, this is great. I'll get the author, I'll get them to sign this bookmark rather than as well as my book. And I picked up the bookmark, and the first thing I noticed was they transposed 2 characters in the name of their book on their bookmark, and nobody had said anything to them. And so it was a real issue, once they realized it, and so they had to get rid of all the bookmarks that they produced, and it was a waste of money, really. So this is one of the conversations, Jess, and I had, where it's not only editing your books and that, but there's other things an editor can help with. Any questions so far? Anything you'd like to start off with?
I'm curious to see. I know you don't have a lot of slides, so I think, yeah, let's get to the next slide, unless anyone has anything.
Can I ask you something, since I can't see the slides? What type of editor are you? Are you a developmental? The different types. What types do you do everything?
I do actually. My business was supposed to be just copy editing and proofreading, because I'm also retired, and basically I was just going to do this part-time. I am fully qualified as a developmental editor, and I'm finding more and more I'm doing more developmental and stylistic editing.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
So should we go to, maybe we'll go to that slide first, and then we can talk through, and then come back to this one, Jess, if you go to the next slide.
Sure. This one.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the editor's role first, and then I can come back and go the other way. So Linda, I know you can't see these, but I'll just go through a little bit of the editor's role, and please stop me as we go along if this triggers anything anybody wants to talk about. So basically, the editor's role is to support you. They're selling quality. They're there to make your book, make your material as professional, error-free as it can be. You've got the creativity, they're just going to help you. So the editor has to be able to communicate tactfully and not just turn around and say, well, that's wrong, wouldn't do that. You know, they've got to be very tactful in, you know, making suggestions. They have to communicate regularly. I know a lot of people have told me that, you know, well, I never hear from my editor until they're about to dump the book on me and ask for it back in a day. And that's no good either. And a clear and confirmed understanding of what type of editing. And Linda had mentioned developmental and that exactly what am I going to do for you? You hired me to proofread. I'm only going, you know, I'm not going to do anything else except check for spelling, formatting, and grammar, right? So I won't be, you know, moving this character's appearance to another part of the book, right? So far, so good? Okay.
Yeah.
So the other thing they have to do is respect the author's voice, their opinion, and their time. Again, you are as busy as everybody else, and you know, we can go back to that other example that I just used about dumping a edited book on you and expecting a turnaround time of 24 hours. Well, no, there should be a constant communication so that you know, you answer when you're available, or you set a time once a week and say, hey, you know, can we get together? We'll talk about, you know, how did you find this chapter, whatever. Okay. And it is your book, it's your voice. All we are supposed to do is help to enhance that. Okay, we're not taking away your voice at all. The authors, we're there to be your author's resource. So we're there, we're flexible, we're knowledgeable, you know, we're somebody you can come to and say, hey, you know, I'm really struggling with how to word this. And you know, I've got it written down. I think it sounds okay, right? And, you know, somebody can take a look at it for you, okay? And then adapting to the project requirements. Again, it's another thing of flexibility. If the project is a book, fiction book, and then another thing of flexibility. Sorry, say that again. Oh,
Everyone there?
Was that an echo?
Sorry, go ahead. It was an echo.
Oh, was it? Okay. So just the project requirements. What is being required? What's the turnaround time? Every author should have a written agreement or a contract with their editor, so they know exactly what has been contracted, what the turnaround times are, about revisions, how many revisions are going to be expected, if any. You know, what happens if one person or another doesn't hold up their end of the bargain. So that should all be done down in writing. It doesn't have to be formal. My agreement is probably a bit more wordy than a lot of others because I took it straight from the Editors Canada site. So, but there should always be one. And then that leads us into the editing types. So we've got 4 different types that are considered under the editing realm, except only 3 of them are really editing, okay? So you've got your structural editing, and some of you may know it as developmental editing, overall editing, I've heard that before. That's the first type of editing. So when you finish your manuscript and you decided you're gonna get an editor to look at it, right? The first thing that they'll be looking for is how does it flow? How does your book flow? Is it in a logical order? Is it targeting the correct audience? Like if you're writing a book about nuclear physics, for example, and it reads at a grade 3 level, It's not going to be appropriate for the audience that you're writing for. Okay. Stylistic is the next thing. So you've got all your structure in place, everything's in order. You know, the characters are appearing when they should be appearing and not before each other and not after. So then you do the stylistic, and that's the coherence, the flow of the document. Is it readable? Okay, basically that's what you're doing at that point, is the readability. Paragraph clarity. Is there a lot of repetition? You know, maybe we need to reduce that repetition and get get a better handle on other opportunities for you to expand in other areas. And the reading level, as I just mentioned, you know, that's very important. There are various tools to be able to do this. You can even do this yourself. You know, Jess, I can send you a list of different tools that, you know, if people want to try. Hemingway.com is a really good one if you want to try readability. So, and then the copy editing, and this is the one that really causes people a lot of problems, because it does get expanded out to stylistic editing sometimes. It can even become structural editing, and it can also become basic proofreading. Okay. So copy editing is also called line editing in many cases. It's looking for accuracy and references, okay? Individual lines, the structure of a line. So it's you guys all know the, you know, difference between passive and non-passive sentencing, right? So you're looking for more. Passive is more sitting in the background, and I don't have an example right offhand, but it's not as direct. You have filler words in there. You have things like there and this and that, right? So you want more direct. And then the final one, and I've put it separately because it really isn't there's no editing that's actually done at this phase. It's basically just a consistency check and a quality check. It's for those spelling errors. It's the one step that was probably missed by this author and their bookmarks, if they had, you know, an error there, right? There's no actual structural editing, stylistic, copy editing, anything done at this phase. In fact, the reason it's called proofreading is because it's after the galley proof. Okay, once the galley proof is done in the publishing terms, you know, you're ready to go to market before you go for the final publishing. And even actually, that's after the typeset too, right, Jess?
I actually am confused about proofreading and what comes first. And I know of a few service
Oh, you froze on me there, Jess.
providers who do proofreading. And am I still here?
Oh, yeah, now you're back. Yeah.
I'll just keep it short and say, I don't know.
Okay, so is it the proofreading versus copy editing, or?
Well, now that I look at this, hopefully my internet's okay. I realize I've done so much with a structural, stylistic, and copy editor, but haven't thought about proofreading at all.
Yeah.
And I can see why copy editing and proofreading is separate now.
Yeah.
But
when I did mine, the proofreading was the very last.
Yeah.
Once everything else passed muster, then it was like, okay, we've got a couple spelling errors in here. And that was kind of the last thing we did.
Yeah. You shouldn't have any major changes at that point, because you've already basically got your book typeset, formatted, everything, right? And so that's ready to go. And then all you're doing is basically just, you know, sending it to the press.
I found reading was the most expensive. Well, considering, paying for a developmental editor and the line editing. And my developmental editor will not do the proofreading because she feels she's too familiar with the story and she won't.
That's good.
So I have to hire someone else. And I've probably gone through like 4 or 5 proofreader, copy editors because, the good ones are booked. And then I've ended up paying twice for a proofreader, finding mistakes. I find the mistakes after they've proofread it. And then it's frustrating trying to find someone else to read it. And I know there's always an error that slips through. I find errors in traditional published books, but it just frustrates me to shell out a whole bunch of money for a proofreader and find them inconsistent in catching errors. Because that's, getting down to the wire to publish the book. And,
You're absolutely right, Judy. You're absolutely right. It's frustrating when you find that. And, everybody, we're human as well. So, there is a chance we're going to miss something. But at the same time, when you're paying for that, the whole idea of a proofreader, every proofreader has their own way of working. I always do a 3-pass proof. And that's always, I read it through, with my highlighter in hand, and I'll just highlight whatever stands out. And then I will go to the next step, which is, anything that I had questions about, I would, engage yourself or the publisher if it's through the publisher. And then the final one is just one last check to make sure all the changes that we identified had been made correctly. And there was nothing else. So that's a quality way of doing it, I would say. And the other thing you can do to minimize the money, I know a lot of people say, well, I'll just use Grammarly or one of the spell checker tools. That's dangerous. That's really dangerous because, the number of times you've probably seen well instead of wheel, like they'll take out the apostrophe or, the same word gets spelt different ways. English language is so much fun for that. So you really have to read through it. But one of the ways you can, and I don't know if you use ARC readers. Do you use ARC readers or reviewers?
Yeah, I know a few of us here do. Not sure
Good.
about everyone. Carol's good at this.
Find if you can, get somebody you trust in your genre to read your book. Okay, it's somebody independent. It's not, I hate to say it, but relatives and friends aren't necessarily the best people. You need somebody else who's going to be critical, because that's what you want. You want them to be critical. And, might help at the copy editing stage as well, but definitely at the proofreading stage, and that will reduce your money as well.
And you mentioned things like Grammarly. I've got both Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid, and they don't always agree.
No.
One says put a comma, the other says take the comma out. So, so I kind of run it through both of them before I send it to my proofreader and let her make the final decision.
Do you get style sheets? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I don't think anyone.
Okay.
I think that was an echo.
Go ahead.
Do you get style sheets from your proofreaders or copy editors? Do they provide you with a style sheet?
I do from a copy editor. I've never had a proofreader, but yes.
Okay. You should always get a style sheet provided to you, especially at the copy editing stage. Yes. A proofreader will ask you for your style sheet just so that they can compare. And if you, give them the doe-eyed look, they'll go ahead and they'll create one for you. And then you can say, oh yes, this is what I wanted. This is like, I always wanted Oxford commas or serial commas, used. I always want you know, conjunctions to be and, or, you know, whatever. I'm okay with, what do you call it? Contractions, or I don't want any contractions used, and, you know, style like that. Okay. So I know we're kind of getting close out on time there, Jess. Did you want to go back to that other slide that we had?
Sure. And I'll just say for anyone who has to leave, including you, just to let me know, or just you know, wave and make an exit if we do happen to go over.
Oh, do you want to do the marketing part first, or do you want to do the one that we skipped over at the beginning?
Oops. Oh. Okay. Just learning how to go backwards. There we go.
There we go. I won't spend too much time on this one because we've kind of already talked about it, but essentially with an editor, your relationship with them should be on the writer, well, my right, your left, the collaborative side, okay? Those are the kinds of comments you should be saying or you should be hearing, all right? If you've got a combative editor relationship, you're going to hear things like, you know, or feel things like, my book doesn't even sound the same anymore. That's sad, you know, like it's your book, it's your baby. It should sound like you, only a little bit, maybe more streamlined, you know. They didn't do what I asked or what I signed for. That's on the onus there is on the editor, not on you. Okay, the editor knows their business, right? It's up to them to make sure you understand what you're getting. Okay. I don't understand how so many words could get cut out. Part of the job is to make it readable, right? And to get out and get rid of all the extra words, the thes, the thans, the, you know, extra fluff words. Okay, so the person can read that book in the manner it's designed. Why even ask me if you aren't going to listen? I've heard that one. Like that was at one session I was at, you know, really very recently, and it just floored me. Like the whole point of being their editor is that you listen and you find out and have a relationship. I just did a fantasy book. Fantasy is not my genre of choice. I like thrillers and, you know, Jonathan Kellerman type books. But I did a fantasy one, and it was great. I got right into it. You know, the author and I were just like so connected, and you know, we were even acting out. I do this sometimes. I acted out one of the characters. It was this big guy who is, you know, sort of like a, what do you call it? Can't think of any of the characters' names right now, but you know, a big guy with an axe, and you know, from Harry Potter. Who's that? Who's that guy? Alfred, not Alfred. Can't think of his name. Anyways, so I was actually acting it out as I'm walking around my living room reading this part of the story. So, and then she had the person running, and I'm going, well, he's a big guy. He's a, you know, a lug kind of. He's not going to run. Hagrid, thank you very much, Marianne. Thank you. So, yeah, so he's not going to run as well. He's going to lope, or he's going to, you know, meander or something like that, but he's not going to run, right? So anyways, that's what you should, that's the level you should be at, okay? And then it's just spelling and punctuation. I can use a spell checker, so we've just talked about that one. So, go ahead. No, or is it me?
It's just echoes.
Crazy, I'm hearing voices. So you should be getting more of the, I like the way my story flows now. You know, that's right. That's the way that character is supposed to work. You know, now my books look consistent. The readers know it's me. That's great. Like, you should have your brand. It should be consistent. So when you do your sequels, right, people will be ready for them. Okay. You know, hey, no more, you know, spelling, grammar, negative comments, because people will pick that up on reviews. And I don't know if you've ever, seen that. Oh, it was a great book, but there were so many errors in it. It just distracted me.
Mhm.
And then finally, great suggestions. It feels like a team effort, and that's the way it should be. And then the last slide. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to give a shout out to my editor who was so good at giving positive critical feedback, and she's a good Christian, and I have so many curse words in my story and the characters are so nihilistic and atheist, and she did such a great job just sticking to my voice despite having such a different voice in her own work. So I love it. It was very much collaborative. It's so intimate to work with someone so closely on your book. And I have heard some horror stories about editors who basically ghost their clients.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point that you made there, Jess, about it being intimate. It does get to that point. You've invested so much time in your book, and to share those feelings and that with somebody is, it takes a lot of trust.
Mm-hmm.
I had a good working relationship with my editor, and I felt like there was a lot of give and take. And I write historical fiction, so things are taking place in the past. Things are different back then than today, and she was really getting into that and the history and the accuracy of it. But there was one scene in there. It takes place with Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon on the Mason-Dixon survey of the Pennsylvania border.
Mm.
And my character's a young assistant with them. And they've been talking about marriage. And he's looking at these two men that he looks up to, that he admires. And one of them is married, and the other one is very wealthy and not married. And so he's wondering, if he can't find a bride, how is he supposed to find anybody if this guy can't?
Oh.
And she says, "Is he gay?" And I thought that just, I never even went that way with my thoughts, writing the scene. And so we had quite a laugh over that.
Well, now you know how your reader is going to interpret
yes,
it.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh,
So
that's good.
it was a funny moment, but it kind of threw me back a bit. So we worked on that scene a little bit better.
Oh, great.
Unexpected things can come out of it.
Yeah. That's great. Marianne or Linda, did you have any, good or bad experiences that you wanted to share?
To be perfectly honest, now, Jess, I don't know what you think of this. I published my first book myself, and I did it all myself without an editor, believe it or not. Now, I will get one for my future books, but I'm kind of independent, and it was my first book. I think it worked out okay, didn't it, Jess? You only heard the audio book, but I put so much effort into every single word, and I went over it about 100 times. Much rather get somebody else to do it next time.
And I think it reads the way you talk, and the way you talk is very poetic, and I think you just are quite artistic and quick-witted.
Mm-hmm.
So you're at an advantage, where for me, I like toil over lines, and I needed an editor. I mean, passive voice was a huge problem for a long time for me. So I think everyone's different and also has a different skill set. And for you, because you write kind of the way you talk and you're very intuitive, it works fine. It worked really well.
Thank you. Thank you, Jess.
Carol's saying repetition is her biggest issue. So yes, and And a lot of times you won't even notice it. It will feel natural because you're talking about a certain point. But, you know, for an editor to look at it, they're going to go, you know, maybe we should change this. Maybe we can use another word. The thesaurus, that's a word I can't say. Thesaurus is one of my best friends, right? So too many F-bombs, my big issue. From Carol, you mean? Oh, I can't see that, Jess.
So we have one more slide. Shall we? Move
Yeah,
on to
let's quickly
marketing?
go over
All
that one
right.
because you led us right into that.
Okay. Here we are.
When you're
Thanks
done
very
with that one, I had something to ask, okay? But finish the
Absolutely.
slide. Go ahead.
Well, I did finish. You want me to finish the new slide or we finished the other one?
Oh, yeah, just keep going, and when you're done, I'll talk. I was unmuted. I'll just mute back up, okay?
Okay, sounds good. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I kind of been hitting on it anyway, is the editor's role in the whole marketing process. And once you get to that point where you're promoting your book. And again, this triggered from something that Jess did. Now, I think you mentioned it, Jess. I love doing my editing and that. I have no idea on the marketing side. Well, sorry, I understand the marketing. I'm no good at it. And I think Jess is phenomenal. Like, she has that grasp. I have a lot of respect for her. I don't always agree with what she says, but I have a lot of respect because she really, like, even if I don't understand why she's doing something, it makes sense in the long run. So you need somebody like that you're going to have that respect. Like, I don't think Jess and I would ever be going on trips together. You never know, though. I mean, if you like the same places I do, Jess, but but it's just that respect and that. So anyway, so talking about marketing materials, being accurate and consistent. So even your website, if you have a website, that again, that also goes to your quality that you're trying to present, right? Especially as an author or, in this whole writing industry. If you've got errors in your website and any of the materials that you're promoting, how much faith are the readers going to have in your book? So mass emails, if you're sending mass emails, an editor can help you with that as well. And I think there are, plenty of niches out there that actually just focus on mass marketing. I've seen a couple of people on LinkedIn that just do like mass marketing, newsletters for authors, book release presentations, lead magnets, like everything from the bookmarks that we talked about and on. So anything written can have errors in it, right? Anything that's published. Conveying a consistent message. That's another way that the editor can help you. They'll have that style sheet and make sure that, if you use heading, format, XYZ and Georgina font all the time, they'll make sure that that is consistent, and it helps with the reader's eye as well. Ensuring that your brand is evident, prominent, making sure that, it's somewhere, wherever you are, okay? Your brand will be there. Working closely with the publisher, marketing, and sales. And this goes back to the whole team aspect of editor and author, but now we're expanding that to it's a cohesive group, right? And everybody's speaking the same language at that point. They're all speaking your language as an author, okay? And then finally, using a style sheet, as I mentioned, I can't express that enough. I always, when I'm finished doing any sort of editing or, a book or anything, I will provide a style sheet so that the next person who comes along, because if something happens to me at some point, and I'm editing a book for somebody, I want there to be, all that work that was into it. And Judy, you were saying, all that money that you spent, there's got to be a record there. And if you want to do parts of it yourself going forward, like, making sure that all the formatting and everything is done to the standard, do that. And that saves you money. Right? So, and that's it. That's all I had to say.
Okay, Linda, Sylvia, question?
Well, I don't know if Jesse knows I have a business. I don't talk about it much because I basically get clients as a referral. Sometimes I talk about it in the breakout rooms, but my business is called BASS, BASS, Book Author Support Service. So I was interested in talking to you a little bit of maybe adding you to my group of professionals. I have a couple editors now. So what I do is I have vetted professionals in the book industry help my clients, and I basically handle the marketing aspect of their book, and all the other professionals, cover design, editors, formatters, proofreaders, all those type of people, even ghostwriters. So do you think you could send me an email and we could set something up to talk? See if you're interested in being one of our professionals. I was impressed with everything you said. In fact, that last thing you said about the style sheet, hardly anybody does that, So that's a good quality to your services that you have added in there. That's very, very important, that last thing you talked about.
Well, I really appreciate that, Linda. And it certainly wasn't my intent. And I mentioned that to Jess. That's why I didn't do a bio or anything for this. My intent was just because I was concerned about the industry and what I'm hearing and what other authors are experiencing. I'm very passionate about my industry. I will send you my email, but at the same time, I would never turn down anything, but I do want to minimize the work that I do because, I do have a few clients now. So.
Well, I don't have a lot going on. I told you I have a couple other editors. I'd like to talk to you on the phone. I don't know if my email is in that screen that comes up, but it's Linda Berry underscore at Hotmail.
Yeah, I actually have yours, Linda, from the WIP sessions.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So I will reach out.
Okay, I got you. We've talked before then, right?
Yeah. Yes, on other calls. I've been on the same calls as you, and I think we've talked on other things as well. So yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, well, we're a wee bit over. Does anyone have one more question you want to throw out there, or should we wrap it up? I will take the silence as it's time to wrap it up. Okay, well, thank you so much, Suzy. Susan.
Yes, thank
If you
you.
like Suzy Sharp Eyes or Susan better.
My business is Suzy Sharp Eyes. Get it? Isn't that good?
It's cute.
Proofreading? Oh, never mind. But yeah. Thank you very much for having me today, Jess. I appreciate it.
Thank you for showing up, and this presentation was enlightening. So ladies, we'll see everyone hopefully next Monday. Susan, thank you so much. Okay.
Okay.
Goodbye,
take care.
everybody.
We'll talk soon, Jess. Bye now.
Absolutely. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.